All right. Uh, we did cancel the. Oh, we need to cancel the speaker. There we go. Yes, fantastic. I'm too old for that. You see, I need somebody who can assist me. Good evening, guys. What is it? It's the 12th, 12th of March today. We're gonna do another webinar. It's gonna be on the mind. The topic of tonight is called the mind explained, the hidden genius in you. Let me see, guys. Who do we have here tonight? Let me just open the participant list. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, I hope, and then of course we're here on Zoom. So we got Lida here tonight, we got Kyle, we got Natalia Sanchez, and we got Svetlana Shestakova. That's nice. Maybe we should just take it very easy and take another minute. I think we had more than 30 registrations really on Meetup for tonight. People who actually wanted to come. So, all right, guys. So my name is Erik. Last night, I'm not sure if you were there, we did another webinar, which was all about self-confidence. And tonight, we're going to be discussing what is the mind, how does it work, and in particular, the hidden genius in you. Good. My name is Erik. I'm, as you can probably tell by my accent, I'm not Irish. I'm not English. I am not American. I'm actually Dutch. That's my background. I grew up in the Netherlands, and I have a background in engineering. I have a background in economics. I worked for Caterpillar for many, many, many years, which is these big machines, engines, diesel engines, generators, and what have you. Lived outside of my country for more than 20 years. So what are we going to do tonight? What are we going to do with this webinar? That is basically, I want to get across a concept of what is the mind, how do you use it, and what is it that is holding you back and limiting your potential, right? So by the end of the webinar, hopefully you have a good grasp of it, all right? At the end of the webinar, we usually also make an offer. So maybe you want to stay up till that time. And maybe for right now, it would be nice to see, okay, maybe switch the phones off, switch some other things off, so you have some attention there as to what is going to happen. Now, you see that we don't have many participants tonight. Let's see what happens. We're just going to make it very much to the point, short and brief, concise, and hopefully impactful. So my first question is, imagine how your life could be if you would know exactly what it is that is keeping you down and limiting your potential, and you would actually have tools for that to overcome that. That'd be quite amazing, right? So I see that I'm a little bit off script. There's been a lot of things going on here in the background. I'm a bit like, and I actually just rushed in. I was here like a minute before 7. But basically what I would like to know from you, because Svetlana, I don't think we've met before, and Lida probably also not, unless you were there last night. Maybe you want to put something in the chat quickly to let us know where you're from and why you're here. We have Kyle here. Kyle has been here for over 40 times. It's quite amazing. So that's absolutely great to see you again, Kyle. I know you're always there. I see Natalia Sanchez is trying to come in again. All right, so guys, let's do that quickly. If you want to share quickly in the chat where you're from and what made you decide to attend the webinar tonight. It would be nice to know. It actually gets us a little bit acquainted, gets us going. Yeah, I'll just wait for that. If you're a fast typist, maybe you want to put the full answer there. If you're very slow, like me, you know, one finger at a time, then maybe you just want to let us know, like, what place are you from? What country are you from? That'll be fine. That'll be cool. My throat is letting me down a little bit lately, so I got my ginger tea with honey and cloves. And you'll see me sipping on that from time to time. Now, in the meantime, what are we going to do? I'm actually going to use materials from this book. And that book is called Dianetics. It's a book on the mind. It's from the internationally, well, what should I say? First of all, it's from L. Ron Hubbard. This person is in the Guinness Book of Records 4 times. You can actually look it up. He's the most widely read author of all times. And this person had a background in engineering. And at the time, that was quantum physics. And he was very interested in, he was very interested in the mind. So he did some experiments. He had an idea, like maybe the mind or a thought or whatever, it could be measured. And did some experiments along the line, got some results, rushed over to the psychology department and asked the guys like, well, can you tell me what is the mind? How does it work? And actually found out nobody had an answer. So if he wanted to satisfy his curiosity, he knew he had to do his own research. And that research culminated in this subject, Dianetics, which means through the mind. Dia means through, is from Greek. Netics is from nous, meaning mind. In other words, through the mind. And it reads, the modern science of mental health. Now, a science is actually a body of knowledge. And with a body of knowledge, you can make predictions as to what kind of results you're going to get. But also, if you're really practicing a certain science, you would normally get results. Okay, good. So here we got Svetlana from Russia. Wow, the name of the event is promising. That's fantastic. Okay, good. That's amazing. I'm glad to hear that, Svetlana. Absolutely great. Good. So what we're going to do? What is the mind? And then we have another answer here. Hi everyone, my name is Ida. I'm from Finland, but currently live in Portugal. Got curious about the topic of today, and when I found this event on Meetup, don't know what to expect, but just learn something new. Okay, fantastic. Now, let's get started then. We're already wasted almost 10 minutes on a chitty-chatty kind of thing. Let me ask you, what do you think if you would ask the question to a quote-unquote expert? And if you would ask that expert, what is the mind and how does it work? Would you really get an answer? Well, let's say you bring your car to a garage and you talk to a mechanic and you ask the mechanic, what is an engine and how does it work? You're going to get a very, very decent answer. Now, I'll tell you, I've asked many, many psychologists over the years, and I asked them, what is the mind and how does it work? And it's interesting, indeed. You will not get an answer. Good. Now, but to understand yourself, you need to know something about the mind. Yeah? So that is what we're going to cover tonight. Natalia Sanchez, she is from Brazil, living in Ireland. Okay, fantastic. Bien, I was going to say bienvenido, but that's actually Spanish. That's not Portuguese. So you might actually tell me how to do this. Yeah? Good. Now, so what I want you to do, we're going to do a little drill here. What I want you to do is this. I want you to think of primary school, which is that school that you attended between the ages 6 and 12. Yeah? I want you to think of primary school. Now, see if you actually get some pictures flashing by. So, for example, I could say the playground, where you would go outside in your break time, in your lunchtime. Do you get a picture of that? Maybe if you look at the playground, there was an entrance and there was an exit. Maybe you get a picture of like where you would enter the school or enter the playground or the courtyard and leave it again, right? Now, likewise, you could also think of the building, the school itself, the building. Or you could think about the classroom. And then maybe you're going to get some pictures of where was the blackboard, where were the windows, where was the door, where you would actually enter the room and leave the room again. Now, a quick question to you guys. did you actually see a couple of pictures in your mind when we did this drill? It would be good to put something in the chat again, a yes or no. In the end, the whole idea behind this is a bit of a workshop. Yeah? So did you actually get some pictures? Love to have your feedback. It'd be great. Just a simple yes or no. That's fine. Just the question, did you have some flashbacks? Yeah, something, some images flashing by. Okay, good. So Raf says, Raf, welcome, Raf. Nice to have you. Raf says, yeah. Lita says, yes. All right, good. That's fantastic. Now, so we have pictures. Well, let's take this to the next level. What I would like you to do right now, I would like you to imagine that you are sitting in your favorite chair in the living room in a house where you grew up. So let's take a house where you grew up and imagine that you're sitting in that favorite chair in the living room. Now, what I would like you to do is from that chair, point toward the TV. So locate the TV in the room and just point toward it. And then estimate the distance between you and the TV. How much would it be? Would it be 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, and so on? If you have that, if you're able to locate it, now let's find a table in the room. Can be any table. So maybe you had a table right in front of you. Now let's have a look at it. What color was it? What was the size? What was the shape? What were its dimensions? And did that table maybe have some coverage on it, like a little, I don't know, table cover or tablecloth, whatever? Maybe you can even say, okay, well, the remote control used to be on it, or whatever, right? Good. So if you have that, now let's find a window. Let's point out a window. Any window. Maybe there's more than one window. But just find a window and point it out. In my case, for example, I would have a window over there. And maybe you see again if that window had blinds or if it had curtains. And if so, what kind of texture was it? What kind of color did it have? Lastly, let's find a door. Where's the door? I would have one over here. I would have one behind me. Let's have a look at the door. What's the color of the door? All right. Now, who was able to do this? Who was able to imagine sitting in a chair and pinpoint these objects around you? Who was able to do that? Point them out, or just simply know where these objects would be. Can you put something in the chat? Let me know. That'd be great. All right. Svetlana is a rich imagination. Okay. I'm quite curious what you mean by that. A rich imagination. All right. Peter says, yep, that's fantastic. Now, some people might actually have quite vivid images. Other people might not see images at all, but you would still know. Here's a key thing here. You would still know where these objects are. You could position yourself in the room again, and you kind of know the TV was over there, the table was over there, the window was over there, the door was behind you. Maybe you're not getting pictures as such, but there is a knowingness there. In other words, there is something recorded. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so let's say this is your body. And that's your mind. Your mind makes pictures. So your mind is images. So here I basically did a sketch of pictures going back in time. Yeah. You could compare it to a footage, like a cinema tape, like a cinema footage that you just unwind. And it's a tremendously long footage. However, yours happens to be not two-dimensional, like a strip, but it happens to be three-dimensional. So you have three-dimensional pictures. This is why we just did that drill. Which is you can actually imagine that whole space around you again. You can imagine the whole living room around you again. By simply pointing out, okay, the TV would be over there. The table is right there. The window is over here. The door is over there. You have a three-dimensional image. We actually call this a mental image. Or you could say mental pictures, right? Mental images, mental pictures. That is your mind. Your mind makes mental pictures. It makes mental images. All right, now, that word mental is a bit special here because it means it is not tangible. Not like this whiteboard, not like any materialistic kind of thing. You can touch it. Not so for your mind. You cannot touch it. So you have this funny situation that there is something there that seems to be not there. Right? So you can actually imagine sitting in the living room again, and you can imagine that the TV is over there, that the table is over there, the window is over here. You can perfectly imagine that. And you can actually experience that. You can experience that. You can just do that right now. And you can have a look at the TV and see the size of the TV, see the color of the TV, see what that TV was sitting on, or perhaps it was wall mounted. You can get all these details. In other words, you can experience those pictures. Right? Now, I have a question for you guys. So, we just did this little drill with imagining that you're in your favorite room again, or your favorite chair. And that little drill of going back to primary school. Now, I just want to ask you quickly, did anybody here feel something while doing that? Like, feel a certain emotion? Or feel a bit uncomfortable, perhaps? Yeah, have an uncomfortable feeling, an uncomfortable emotion. Did anybody here feel something perhaps a bit awkward, perhaps a bit uncomfortable while looking at these pictures? Could you let me know? And again, a yes or no would be great. We're just with a few people tonight here on Zoom. Maybe other people are watching. Sometimes we get answers from people who are on the other platforms. But it's nice if you're tracking, if you understand this content, and if you could let us know, okay, yeah, I got something, I didn't get anything. That keeps it a bit alive. Okay, good. Now, so I guess nothing really happened, yeah? No, you probably didn't get any strange or unwanted sensation. Okay, so let me ask you this. What would happen? Oh, hang on. Okay, good. So we have a couple of 1 finger, 2 finger typers here, I think. Okay, my mistake. Okay, good. So Lita says, for me, only images. Good. Okay, Raf said yes about some things that happened. All right, Raf. Thank you very much. So here's the next question. Here's the next question. I don't really want you to go there. What about what I'm going to ask you now? I don't want you to memorize it. Just want you to answer from experience, not answer by going back in time. But what happens to you normally when you think back of a moment of loss, like the loss of a loved person, or perhaps the loss of an animal, a pet animal, or the loss of a possession, or the loss of a job, or simply what happens when you think back of a loss of something that was really dear to you? What normally happens? What normally happens to you? And it could be that you're consciously thinking back of something, or even unconsciously, inadvertently. What happens if you're just being reminded of a loss? What is going to happen to you? Okay, Raj, Raf, Raf, I suppose that's for Raphael, right? Unbearable pain or discomfort. Yeah, I get that. Thank you for your answer. Just wait a few seconds, see if something else is happening. Then we're going to go to the next question. Yeah? But basically, Raf, what you're saying is that it seems like loss, pain, is stored in your pictures. Yeah, these losses, these mental pains, they are stored in the pictures. Now, here's an interesting test that you can do with people. You could ask them if they can remember or imagine undergoing a blood test. You can just ask them, okay, do you remember the last time you went for a blood test? The person says, yes. All right. Which arm? Right arm. Okay, good. Can you stretch your right arm? The person does so. It's all right. Can you imagine that you're feeling that sting again, and you might actually get to see something like this. The person pulls back his arm, and he actually feels the pain again. He feels the sensation again. If you test that, you probably find out that more or less 50% of the people actually do this. In other words, pain is recorded in these pictures. Okay, so Nana says loss plus powerlessness. All right, thank you, Svetlana. So we have pictures. We have basically, these are like copies of the environment. Right? You have copies of the environment, but in these copies of the environment, you have registrations of your own emotion. You have registrations of your own pains. You have registrations of your own conclusions. It's all in there in these pictures. Now, when you think back of a moment of a loss or a moment of pain, you could say that there's tension, charge, something uncomfortable about that experience, about that recording. So let's put some symbol there. Let's say that this here, it denotes a moment of pain or loss or an unwanted experience, an unwanted emotion, these kind of things. And they are recorded in your mind. So now before we get there, like how does that affect you? Let's first have a look at the positive. Yeah. Raf, also happiness? Absolutely. I could ask you, can you recall a moment that you felt happy? And maybe you have to ask that question a few times, but a moment at some point will come to your mind, and all of a sudden you can re-experience that moment of happiness. Absolutely, it's recorded. So before we go into like what is holding you back, what is limiting you, what is giving you these unwanted feelings, let's first have a look at how do we use these pictures? How do we use the mind? Because this is the genius of you. That is the genius. You are able to use all these pictures in such a great way. So, for example, you could record that you have just seen a red marker. You just seen a red marker. And now, for your mind, this is simply a marker. And you can actually go back in your mind and find that you were in a shop not too long ago that had markers. And but that shop was a certain branch. And then you could actually cross-reference that with having been into another town in that same branch, that same shop. But that town had hills. And you can cross-reference that with your latest holiday that you spent somewhere, I don't know, and that place had hills as well. So one thing that we can do with the mind, we can make tremendous chains of similarities and all kinds of cross-references. Now let's not go in there tonight because that could actually, we could just fill up a truckload. Let's just make it very, very simple. Let's say you come home, you got your keys here, right? And you put your keys on the table. Now you're gonna take a little nap. You decide that now you wanna take a shower, and you wanna sit in the, I don't know, the living room and read something. And then you look at your watch and say, hey, it's actually a good time to do some shopping. Let's get my coat on and let's leave the house and go to a supermarket. So while you're on your way, you have your coat on, you put your hands in your pockets and you realize there's no key there. So how are you going to solve this problem? Well, you're probably not going to go back to the shower. You're probably not going to go back to the bedroom. You're probably not going to search the living room. What you're going to do is you're probably going to think for a moment and then think for yourself, well, what did I do when I got home? Yeah, I passed the table and I put the keys on the table. In other words, your mind will pass you the right picture, the right information. Now your mind will tell you where to find your keys. Likewise, for example, maybe after the webinar you say, okay, you know what? I'm going to turn the TV on. And your mind will direct you straight to the remote control and tell you where the remote control is. And then maybe you wanna leave the house and you parked your car in the next street because you couldn't park in front of your house because it was too busy there. So now your mind will hand you the pictures on how to get there to the other street and get your car. You see, that is the genius in you. You actually know how to use these pictures properly in order to solve problems. So what is the mind if we have to give it a definition? Well, first of all, it is a whole series of pictures which are copies of your experiences with the environment. That's the first thing that we see, right? Then they contain information, and they will give you that information back in your effort to solve problems relating to your survival. Now, let's see how this can actually go wrong, because it also goes wrong because the mind does have a flaw. The mind actually does have a flaw, and I have a question for you. So it's actually 3 questions, but I'll just put a yes or a no if any of these apply to your life. And here's the thing. Do you feel uncomfortable with certain people or in certain situations or in certain locations? So here's the question. Do you feel uncomfortable sometimes with certain people? Could be your boss, could be a superior, could be your neighbor, could be with a police officer, could be with a doctor, whatever. Do you feel uncomfortable with certain people? Do you feel uncomfortable in certain situations? Maybe like a group effort, or maybe where you have to dance or do something in public. Or do you feel uncomfortable in certain locations, such as perhaps your boss's office, or a hospital, or a dentist office, whatever? Have you seen this, that you sometimes feel uncomfortable with certain people, with certain situations, with certain locations? Rav says yes. All right. Rita says yes. Thank you very much. Okay. So what happens here? Svetlana say yeah. Talking in a group of more than 3 people. Okay. Got you. That's quite an analytical answer. It's a good one. Amazing. Well done. So what really happens in that situation? So if you feel uncomfortable with certain people, with certain situations, in certain locations, there's something there. Let me just wipe this big thing here. I'm going to use that same symbol again. There is something there that controls you in a bad way. Something there that puts you under stress. What's the problem here? The stress is coming in, but you can't shake it. You cannot turn the knob and say, I'm not stressed. It just comes in and it starts to control you. And you can't shake it off. So there's something there that controls you, and you don't control it. That is actually the flaw in your mind. There's something there that does something bad to you, but you cannot fend it off. Okay, so Svetlana, you give a nice example there, talking in front of a group, right? So probably a lot of people have seen this, right? Let's say you want to talk in front of a group, and it might just as well be an exam, or let's say a job interview, or any kind of like an awkward kind of situation to you. And you will always see the same phenomenon occurring, which is this. Let's go back to talking in public, doing a speech. And you approach your group, and all of a sudden you get that knot in your stomach. You get this butterflies in your stomach, this anxiety feeling. It turns on. And what happens is that you feel that your body becomes a little bit shaky. Your legs start to become weak. You have that thing going on in your stomach. Now you may feel that you start to transpire, and you start to smell as if it's the smell of fear. You may also find that you get a dry throat all of a sudden. You feel that you need to drink water, and even if you do, It doesn't resolve. You still have this dry throat despite drinking. Now maybe you have some notes and you're bringing some notes and you're trying to keep the paper still, but you can't. You can't. The paper keeps shaking. Okay? So there's something there that sabotages your body. Now, at the same time, it's also sabotaging your mind. Because you memorized what you were going to talk about, and just like with an exam, or just like in front of a group of people, all of a sudden, you try to access your memories, and you go like, I'm in a blank. I don't know what to talk about. So you have this self-sabotage. Now, this thing here, it can turn on a little bit, and let's say you just feel a bit uncomfortable. You're not feeling really certain. You're not really feeling confident about yourself. It turns on a little bit more, and it brings up an emotion of fear. And you turn it on a little bit more, and now you might get palpitations. Now you might get this butterfly feeling in the stomach. And you turn it on even more, and the stress becomes so much that you feel like you're almost fainting. Have you seen this phenomena in yourself? Have you seen it in your own life? A thing that I'm just describing, something coming in, controlling you so badly, you couldn't shake it off. And it took over the control of your body, it took over the control of your mind, as if it kind of like sealed off your mind. And this could happen in certain locations, in certain situations, or with certain people. Have you seen that? Just to call it to your awareness. Curious about your answers? Let's see. Yes or no is fine. Huh? I'm just curious if you actually have experienced this. If you have experienced for yourself that, for example, you went to a dentist or a doctor or a job interview, you had to do a talk in public, and there was something there that you felt seemed to be like a self-sabotage, made you feel really uncomfortable. Have you seen that? Right, Lida, yes, that's great. Thank you. All right. So now, Svetlana says yes. Okay. Now let me give you an example on this, how that could work with your mind. Good. Let's do a little sketch here again. Now let's imagine we have Joe here. Joe had a bad experience many years ago. As a kid, Joe walked into an alley and there was a dog there that came out of nowhere. And the dog bit little Joe, and he was in so much pain, the dog ripped his arm open, tore some flesh off. Joe was bleeding, and he was eventually found and brought to the hospital. So let's say that experience here is right there back in time. Now, like we just said, these are mental images. So unless we look at these images, unless we do that, we have no idea that they even exist. You become aware of the fact that they do exist when you put your attention on these pictures, like we did at the beginning of the webinar. So, but you still have all these pictures with you. And in case Joe still has these experiences from 30 years ago. So he has these experiences. One day, let's say, he is walking into this direction. And he's walking straight into a dark alley. So he looks and he sees a dark alley. What do you think Joe's mind is going to do? What do you think is going to happen? So, you think he's going to be just fine? You think he's going to be afraid? You think he's going to just walk on? He's going to be clueless? Or could it be that the past experience is going to come into play? Rav, okay, so Joe is going to be alarmed, right? Okay, that's very good. Likewise, let's say we change the alley for dog. The dog resembles somewhat the dog over there. What is going to happen? Well, the same thing is going to happen. So this is where your mind, where Joe's mind, where everybody's mind makes mistakes. The mind can actually identify a situation here, or a location here, or an individual or an animal as such over here, with a person, animal, location, situation in the mind. And then figure that this is the same as this. That's where the mind makes a mistake. Because this dog is not that dog. That dog might have been ferocious. This dog could very well be very pettable, like a true friend to everybody. But the mind insists that these two are the same. And right now, it is going to use that force. It's going to use that force on Joe to warn him and to control him to get out of there. And this force is so strong, it makes Joe so uncomfortable body-wise, and he cannot think straight that he's probably going to do a U-turn and do something else. Now, let's imagine that you might say, well, Erik, that is cool, but you know what? I have no problems with dogs, so your example is not really good. Okay, well, let's go to Svetlana's example. This might be very, very far-fetched, what I'm going to tell you right now, Svetlana. Now, let's say there's a group of 4 people that you need to talk to. And your mind puts you under so much stress. Now you might wonder, could it be that there is something in your mind that tells you that this situation should really be avoided because there's something bad that could happen to you? Could that be? Could that be a possibility that there was something there that happened that involved a group of people? And now, when you have this idea that you need to talk to a group of people, all of a sudden you're going to be alarmed. And you're going to feel like, I could not possibly do this. This makes me feel very, very uncomfortable. Would that make any sense? What do you think? Would that make any sense? Just curious for your answers. And I'm going to tell you what is the solution. Pop in a few yeses or nos, or I'm just curious if you're tracking with these sketches. All right, good, fantastic. Lita makes sense. All right, that's great. So you see that it is actually not difficult to understand your mind. It's not difficult at all. All that was actually really needed was somebody who figured it out. So 20th century psychology didn't figure it out, honestly. You will not find this in any psychology textbook. Unfortunately, it's not there. Okay, Svetlana, more people, more misunderstanding, and uncomfortable to talk. Thank you very much for the answer. Yeah. So what you learned tonight is that knowing your mind and what is in there is actually not very difficult. Now here is the trick. So we spoke about that question. Are there certain people or certain situations or certain locations that make you feel uncomfortable? And if they do, then you're going to be in this situation where you sabotage yourself. That means you cannot be what you want to be. You cannot do what you want to do. And you will stop yourself most of the time. That means you will not have the results and reach your goals that you so much want in your life. Right? And that is, there's something hidden there in your mind. There's something hidden that keeps you down and that limits your potential. Maybe you've ever heard that we only use like just 10% of our potential. That means you're not using 90% or even more than 90%. How would it be if you could actually find a workable method to get that 90% back in your life? Now, what Mr. Hubbard, the author of Dianetics, that book, what Mr. Hubbard discovered was that these mental images, the negative force, the negative command over you, disappears the moment that you have fully seen the picture. So that picture is not really part of your awareness yet. But there's a method, a therapy, to become fully aware of these pictures. And it's a fascinating procedure. And when you do that, essentially, you wipe out the cause of your stress, the cause of your anxiety, the cause of your overthinking, the cause of your lack of confidence, the cause of your own limitations. You can actually, by just getting a full copy of these pictures, and the book will tell you how to do that, you can erase these negative forces in your mind, and you can erase them for good. That means this will no longer control you. And I can tell you, Svetlana, from my own experience, after that, you can easily talk to 50 people or 100 people. It's not going to bother you anymore, because that thing there that causes all the self-doubt and the shaky legs and the butterfly feeling, the knot in the stomach, is simply gone. And that single factor that made you have such a lack of confidence is no longer there. So you can be very confident that you can do what it is that you want to do. Okay? So to that extent, I want to end off, and I want to give you a recommendation to do some study for yourself. So let's say you have a car, it breaks down, and you're going to be stressed because you know you have to bring it to a garage, and you're like, oh my God, that's going to be the salary for the whole month that I have to spend on the car. If you would be a mechanic, you probably notice something off with the car. You open the hood. You say, all right, that's a 20 euro fix. You have a smile on your face because you're a mechanic, because you know cars and you know engines and you know how to fix them. Now, in life, we do ups and downs. We carry that baggage from the past, bad experiences, or we are competent when we even want to get more out of life. We just don't know how. And that's where knowledge comes in. Once you have that knowledge and once you know how to use that knowledge, put it into practice, you will get results. So to that extent, I do want to recommend this book to you. It's available in 52 languages. You can even get it in Zulu. You can get it in Korean. You can get it in Arabic. You can have it in Brazilian Portuguese, or you can have it in Portuguese. Portuguese. You can have it in Latin American Spanish. You can have it in Castilian Spanish. Yeah. So it's available in a lot of languages. It has sold more than 22 million copies. That means that more than 22 million copies have been sold, and people have read this book. Successful people love it because it really works. It definitely worked for me. I could go on, but I don't want to take your time. I'm just making a strong recommendation for the book. And my colleague Pavel is going to put the link there for you now to get that book. And you can actually get it with free shipping. It's 20 euros only. And it's an amazing read. And what I covered for you here tonight is a snippet. It's a little bit of that I extracted from the book. The book is actually going to make you an expert on the subject. So now, basically, I want to ask you, do you have any questions? I know it's just a few of you guys, so well, Raf, you have a point there. It's about two things. It's about two things. Every individual, whether he has had traumas or not, has something there that holds him back. It can be a trauma, absolutely. It can be a trauma that holds him back. I could ask you this question. Have you ever thought that if such and such a moment in your life wouldn't have happened, that you would be happier today? That means something there back then happened that was dramatic to you, that had an impact on you, and after that you were no longer the same person. So that you can absolutely 100% handle and solve efficiently with Dianetics. It would probably not take more than 2-3 hours, and it would be out of your system. Now, is this just about trauma? No, because we like to be competent. We like to be able people, and able people like to achieve their goals in life, and like to get better at what they're doing. So maybe you feel like, but I want to be a better communicator, or I would like to have more direction in life, or I want to take more responsibility. I want to improve my social skills. I want to be more a problem solver rather than somebody who just sees problems instead of solutions. I want to stop procrastination. Whatever it is that you want to be more able at, that you want to improve, you can improve all that with Dianetics. So in the first chapter in the book, it tells you where your 90% of your capacities, your potentials that you're not using, it tells you where it is hidden, and then how you can actually get that back. Yeah. All right, I hope that answered your question. Any other questions? The other thing is that if you want to ask me a question, if you want to do so in private, not really here in the webinar, but you feel like, hey, you want to discuss the subject a little bit more, then I'll be happy to talk to you in person. Good. So about the author, L. Ron Hubbard. So basically started with education in engineering. Then they researched the mind. What was the mind? What was it doing? How was it limiting an individual's potential? And you might have seen on Meetup, I'm actually a coach in Dianetics and also in Scientology. It's a big word, it's a buzzword, it goes all over the internet. It has been thoroughly misinterpreted. Scientology comes after Dianetics. Here you have the science of the mind that is then followed by the science of life. And that's where Mr. Hubbard continued his research into life, into life's potentials, what life is doing, and continue to research into how to achieve your full potential as fast as possible. Now, obviously, certain people, certain groups on this planet do not like that people find solutions. If you would invent a car that runs on water, if you would make such an invention, a car that runs on water, you will probably be killed or shot next week. If you will find a cure for a lot of diseases that only cost 10 cents, which is completely natural without any side effects, you will probably not live long. If you are in charge of a country and you utterly ruin your country, then somebody will say, this person deserves a promotion. That is planet Earth today. So any effort that is made in the direction of something really positive that helps people, you will find that very often that it is squashed and that it gets very, very bad PR. The bad PR is basically just to get you afraid, to make sure that you don't look in that direction. Yeah. So that is just a little side take on this whole thing. My experience with Dianetics and Scientology have been extremely good. Yeah, it basically has done a lot for my confidence. It helped me in my work, income, a lot of things. All right, guys. So good. I think we handled it nicely in time. 8 o'clock. I hope you got something out of this tonight. To learn something new about the mind. Hope you enjoyed it. Next week we're going to do another webinar. We got two. One on Tuesday at 8 o'clock and one again on Wednesday at 7. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you very much for participating. I'm very happy that we had a chat going on with answers back and forth, and you guys, being chatty, participating in that. Absolutely loved it. Once again, if you have any questions for me, find me on Meetup. Just send me a message. I'll be more than happy to answer. In my welcoming message, you also find my WhatsApp. Feel free to send me anything on the WhatsApp. And a lot of people have done that already, and we had one-on-one talks, which I really enjoy. So for now, I wish you a very good rest of your evening. Hope it's going to be good. Wish you a very good rest of the week, and hope to see you again. Bye for now.